Hey everybody!
Hi.
We are back in the apiary today. It's a little bit overcast. It's getting a little bit late in the afternoon. This is here at the store, so we just closed the store and we're out here. A little bit clouds moving in, but we're going to do this anyway. Most of you with day jobs understand the struggle there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to do bees when you can do bees.
For sure.
Okay, so today this is going to be our week 7 inspection for the package bee series.
Almost 2 months.
I know.
That went by fast.
It did.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do as a bonus, we're going to do our Varroa mite check. And this is a method that I've kind of put together from different beekeepers I've worked with and a lot of Randy Oliver's influence. He's really good and efficient at doing Varroa mite checks. He does it as a passion, and they do thousands of hives. So he's got the method pretty nailed down. So this is kind of similar to that, but we're not on that large scale. So we don't have an automatic shaker like he's got. But basically we're going to go through, do our hive inspection. We're going to look for the queen, and ideally we find the queen, and we're going to put her frame and everything in this Pro Nuke box to keep her safe when we go through to sample for the mite check. But if not, Randy Oliver's got a good method that works pretty well too. Okay.
All right. Let's
Smoke the entrance here and open her up. I'm gonna set this smoker up here. It is smoking just a little bit. All right.
Get the inner cover off here.
Not a lot of traffic upstairs. That's okay. So we're here in southern Indiana, and this week, even though it is the end of May, squish a hive beetle for the camera. So even though it's the end of May, we have had abnormally cool weather this week. We've had cool rainy days, actually, where sometimes highs in the 60s where the bees just haven't been out doing a lot of foraging. So it looks like their pollen patty they haven't touched. So these guys, they're not touching the pollen patty. There is some hive beetle larvae in here. I can see the little maggots wiggling around. So we're going to get rid of that out of the apiary. We're gonna skip the pollen patty this week, just because they're not touching it all the way up here. So that's okay.
Yeah.
So is there much activity here to inspect for?
I really don't see. They're not filling any of these frames out.
I see bees, but actually I don't see any drawn comb at all. So I'm just going to take this whole box.
Okay.
Nice and gentle, Dan. All right, and I'm going to set it on the outer cover that's upside down like a tray here.
Okay.
And there's all the family.
Yeah, they look good.
Okay, so let's see if we can locate the queen. You want to take that one out?
Sure.
And these are incredibly docile bees.
Yeah, they are.
For being late in the afternoon and
cloudy. Bees don't like it when it's cloudy.
It's usually the witching hour when, let's look for the queen here.
Yeah.
I don't see her on this side. What about your side? Oh, you just got stragglers. And still double checking all the
There's that. You want to scrape
grooves.
that off there?
Yeah, so there's some, basically what I call inappropriate comb. Just comb that beekeepers don't like.
Right.
Because we want to be able to do clean inspections without tearing comb and squishing bees. And so we're going to look for the queen. I'll let you go ahead and keep going through here. We are going to look for the queen, and if we don't find her, Randy Oliver's method is to come 2 frames in from the outside of the brood nest and use that frame, whether it's bee bred or or capped brood or open brood. Randy's preference is actually not to disturb the brood. And he's done some research that actually the nurse bees are pretty evenly distributed throughout the hive on the frames. And so based on his research, and when Randy Oliver studies something, he researches it, he does a lot of full in-depth iteration testing. So Randy's a great guy, and he's got thousands of hives to play with. So he does multiple iterations. So scientifically, it is sound.
I don't see any queens on this one.
Do not see the queen.
No.
We'll put that one back here, and we're going to keep working across. I much prefer to find the queen just for my own peace of mind, but that's not always in the cards, and especially since we're here late in the day, most of the forage bees are kind of coming in and shutting down for the evening. So typically that's why the hives get a little bit more testy in the late afternoons and early evening, because there's additional guard bees that are typically coming back home. Forage bees, guard bees are kind of one and the same usually.
I don't see her on there.
And so you end up with extra reinforcements in case you set off an alarm pheromone. And okay, well, here is a surprise. So we have some queen cells. Make sure I don't see the queen here. So like we said, these bees, because it's been cool, they've been cooped up this week actually. Yep, and those are active populated queen cells. So, all right. Well, they have decided that they are going to swarm, apparently. And that's part of these package bees have just gotten after it. And the queen has laid so profusely. And they ran out of space, and they're taking their time drawing this top box of comb. And when everybody is at home, when these cool days, when they can't get out and fly, they just start feeling cramped. It's like, going on vacation, all stuffed in the Winnebago together. Or in my case, we had a Chevette. We were very cramped, but here's the queen.
There she is.
There's our lady right there. So she's still at home. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reverse her decision of swarming. So I'm going to kill these queen cells because I have the queen still here. If I don't find the queen, there's nothing you can do. They are destined to swarm, and if you kill the queen cells, all you're doing is risking a queenless hive at that point. But so what I'm going to do, I have the queen on this frame. I'm going to put her and all the bees, everybody, right into this Pro Nuke. This is why I love Pro Nuke boxes. I keep them in the truck, several of them in the truck for all sorts of different purposes, moving brood between hives, and especially when I'm doing this, where I'm doing an inspection, and I want to do something a little more thorough, a little more in-depth. I want to have her sequestered. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we still have a queen, so I'm going to go back to this frame that we found these queen cells on. Yeah.
One.
And so what I do, they're always going to have queen cups, but this is a queen cell, and you can see they have it extended. So what I do is I tear the side down so I can peek in and see if there's larvae, and this one actually has a pretty large queen larvae in there.
My goodness.
Tons of
royal jelly.
Tons of royal jelly. And I'm just going to, the larvae I'm going to get rid of. The royal jelly is actually really good for the bees. That's their superfoods, what they feed all the brood. So I'm going to give that back to them. But these other queen cells, I'm going to make sure that I tear them down.
And there's another one.
And
it's a small one. See it?
That one, okay, so this one is actually a drone cell.
Oh, yeah.
It's just tall because it's a drone brood and a normal worker cell. It's very skinny and narrow. So that's the difference that you can see there. But like this one over here, this is larger, wider base. It's still a larger diameter down here, but these are queen cups here. Tear the side off of those so I can peek in. Yep, and there's a fresh egg, so they don't even have royal jelly in that one yet. So she's actively still laying these queen cells, and so probably not going to be able to change her mind. But we're going to try anyway. I'm just tearing off this extra comb. Don't want it. They're trying to draw it down. I don't want them to draw comb down. Now, so when you're going to make this decision to kill queen cells, you have to get every one of them. So like here's a little sneaky one here in the corner. I can tell there's a bee down in there. She's got her butt down and head down in there, butt sticking out. So they're working on a queen cell. If you miss one at all, this will never work. There's a 0 chance it works. If you can get every single queen cell, you have a chance to derail them. And, you know, again, when bees swarm, it's their natural way of reproduction. So beekeepers don't like it because we like to say we like to kind of drive production for honey and bees and all kinds of things that we think is best for the bees. But oftentimes the bees know what is best. With these guys, I am going to try to derail them. Here's another queen cell. I want to derail them just for the fact that I want them to be as strong as possible going into winter. So if they swarm, that's it's going to take a little more chance. But again, it's at least a 70% chance that they're going to have a viable queen, get mated, and come back. So, and I think, especially when the bees swarm themselves, that 70% statistic I think is more accurate if you're raising queens, a queen breeder statistic kind of a thing. But I feel like if the bees are, if the bees are swarming, I feel like that 70% ratio is probably a little higher because nature kind of has a better idea of what they're doing. There's still always a chance that the queen gets picked off by some bird or dragonfly, something in her mating flight, and that you could have poor weather during her mating flights or time when she needs to go on a mating flight. But it is nature, and we are observers of nature. Okay. Now, if I had drawn comb, I would give them drawn comb as well to kind of give them some extra space to kind of shake things up a little bit. So we are going to shake things up just a little. And as part of this swarm mitigation, we're going to take some frames and move them to the top box and kind of artificially force them up into the top box and put some of those frames from the top box, those empty plain foundation comb, we're going to put those down on the bottom, and that will kind of trigger them to, whoa, hey, we got more work to do. Yeah. We got some more space. They're going to have babies. It's going to pull the bees up to the top. It'll spread out the population of bees. So before we do that, let's go ahead and take care of
a mite check.
This mite check.
Yeah.
And it is, so here's lots of cat brood. There's tons of bees on this frame, and we really don't need that many bees. So I have a plastic tote here, and I have a half-cup measuring cup. I'm gonna give that to the boss, okay? And this tote, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn the frame diagonally so that the bees all fall into the tote. And I don't even want all of these bees, to be honest. All I want is a single layer. So You can see how many bees I've left. I'm gonna put that back, and you can see a lot of bees have started flying out of this tote. And what I'm doing is kind of shaking them to agitate the older bees that are flying bees that know where to go. And the rest of the bees, you can see, I want them to thin out into a single layer. That way I can double check for the queen. And so this is Randy Oliver's method. You take a frame, 2 frames in from the outside of the brood nest, and then you kind of shake this to get all the old bees to fly away. They'll fly back into the front of the hive or into the top of the hive. And the rest of the bees, you want them in a single layer so that you can easily see the queen. And Randy's, I think he said, in an entire yard, which I don't know what his yard is, it's at least 40, 50 hives. I think he said one time they'll find a queen and using this method. So that helps your odds pretty well if we didn't find the queen and know where she was at already. Okay, so
this is a Varroa check.
Yep, our Varroa check, and using Jared Spikowski's recommendation, and this is Randy Oliver's research again. This is, instead of alcohol, which I've always typically used in the past, alcohol actually agitates the bees. The smell doesn't make them very happy. So this is just water with several drops of dish soap. So it works just the same as what the alcohol kill method does. It's just the dish soap water method, and we're going to kill the bees, but it's a lot easier. You don't have to worry about alcohol and trying to get rid of it or getting it on your hands and then getting bees agitated. So I've got a single layer of bees, and this is actually way too many bees, but basically what I'm going to do is bump the corner, and you can see I have a huge pile. Take my half cup measuring cup and try not to squish any of the other bees because they are going to go back in. But so I have half cup here, and these are young bees, so I can kind of level her off here like you're baking a cake. Straight in, close the lid, and then very humanely we're going to dispatch them by swirling this and getting them all covered in soap water. Okay, would you like to swirl it? So the method here is to give it you don't have to shake it. You actually want to swirl it because you want to dislodge the mites, but leave them in the water so that they fall to the bottom. So we're going to do that for 1 minute, and I'm going to take the rest of these bees. I'm just going to return them back to the hive because we only need the half cup, which is 300 bees. That's the sample rate that we need for a good statistical measurement. Okay, come on. There you go. You're free. Okay.
I think that's probably been about a minute or so.
Are you sure?
Did I not shake it quite as good as you do?
Has it been a minute? So Randy Oliver has a whole machine that does this.
I guess a timer would be good.
Yeah, a timer would be good. We're not going to make you watch this. We'll speed this up. I'll let that settle. Okay. All right, so I'm going to let that rest for just a little bit, and we're going to do this kind of brood nest manipulation. So first, I've gone through, I've gotten rid of all the queen cells. The queen is on, if I remember correctly, she was right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so.
You want her back?
No, I just wanted to get this back in order,
okay.
So that I know which frames I want to take and put into the top box. So what I want to do is I want to take 2 frames. Let's see if there's some work here. And they are starting to draw a little bit of wax
Just
there.
A little, yeah.
Okay, that's good. So what I want to do, and so they're covering, so the bees are covering this frame. That's good. And what I want to do is they are working on that. So I'm going to take frames from the outside two edges. So these are very plain foundation, no bees, no activity. And now bring this up here. So basically we have the bees just starting to work these two, and honestly you can probably see into the bottom of the hive and see what the activity is. There's not really drawn comb, they're just barely starting to work it. But you can see there's bees on a lot of those frames. So they know where they want the nest, in the center. And what I'm going to do, I'll put this here. I'm going to split it right down the middle. Okay. And I'm basically going to insert 2 frames of brood. So I'm actually going to put this, how are we going to do this?
Well, if I hold it, then...
You hold the box?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll be your
Awesome having a good helper. Okay. Now what I want to do is come in, I'm going to take this frame.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's why you're holding it. So I'm going to come in 3 frames. So basically I'm leaving the center 2 frames here. Yeah, and there's actually a lot of
bees on that.
There's a lot of bee bread in this one, pollen and bee bread. So what I want to do, because that one has pollen, I want that pollen to stay. Okay, so here, cap brood, this is full capped brood on this side, and this has got some open, looks like she hasn't quite laid in there. So I'm going to take this frame and put it here in the middle on this side of the box.
I can feel the weight difference.
You're welcome. Here, you can set the lip right there for just a second.
It's fine. It's crazy how, how heavy they get.
So what I'm going to do then, so this frame that has the all the pollen and the bee bread, so I'm going to slide it out of the way, and I want one of these plain drawn. What I'm doing is leaving 2 frames here in the middle, and then I'm putting a plain frame, and then I'm putting the rest of the brood nest. So basically what I'm doing is I just made a big gap in the brood nest right there, and I want to do the same thing. So this is the frame that is basically like the second one from this middle, and I want to look and see if this is all, yeah, this is all capped
brood.
Yep. So I'm going to bring that up, put it here in the middle, because those will be hatching, and then there will be open brood or open cells where the queen will be coming up to lay. And this one, I'm going to put it on this side, and then the queen is going to go back into this frame. So we're going to have basically these center 2 frames, 2 new frames, rest of the brood nest. And you can see everybody is way more well behaved than what they should be. And find the queen, there she is. So I want to know where she's at whenever I put this frame in, because I don't want to roll the queen. So I'm actually going to push this into the opening. I don't want to roll bees, so I want plenty of space for this frame to fit down inside of here. I gently close the gap, bring the brood nest back up to this frame. Okay, and then Melissa, have you step to the side so I can get this frame back where this frame started. Okay, center the frames, put this box back on top.
This way?
Yes, that's...
Hang on, there's a lot of bees right there. I don't want to squish them.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go over top of those bees and then slide to kind of push them in or out of the box, either way. And then we're going to center these up. So now what we've done is, you can see we've drawn basically the bees up into this top box now.
A little trickery.
Little trickery. We force them into the top box, and so that frame down there is full of pollen, both sides. So we don't need to give them pollen patty. They weren't using it, so they're just telling us, hey, I got all those resources I need. What we are going to do, because this is the end of May, and this is when I highly recommend that we stop with the entrance feeding. As we get some really, really warm days and the nectar flow tapers off, we're going to end up with an even bigger and bigger risk of setting off robbing. And we do not want any part of that. So we're going to be very proactive here. So we're going to take this jar, and Melissa, if you can top off.
You always want to get your feeders all the way full too, otherwise they'll leak.
Yes. All right, so we know they have a lot of wax to draw, so we're still going to give them sugar water. And we're going to use our 2-frame feeder, and we're going to get some masking tape, and we're going to tape the notch shut because we want this to be defended space, and want to make sure that the bees, there's actually a couple ants, so I'm going to open this so they can get out here, but I don't want an entrance. We're going to tape that shut. And then the feeder jar, we flip it over away from the hive so the sugar doesn't drip for the ants. And then we're going to give them 2 quarts so that we don't have to check them as often. And then we put the deep box. Would you like to get the masking tape out of the bee car right there in the tote? And then I'm going to take this entrance. And so now that we have taken the feeder jar, we have this big entrance that we don't really want. So I'm going to flip this over. And I actually want I want the entrance on the same side because I want it on the outside opposite of those other hives over there. So I'm going to pin this in place. Okay, so basically we've just blocked this back off and they're back to the same entrance that they have there. And my amazing boss has brought me the masking tape.
Things we keep in the car for emergencies.
Yes, so I keep a tote, a large open basket in the bee mobile, all of the bee mobiles. So that's I have the bee truck, and this is the bee RAV. But what I'm going to do is tape this over. I'll put several layers because I don't want them to chew through it easily. I'm going to kind of go across the top here too. The reason that we want this blocked off and the bees to be up here defending it, we do not want easy access into this feeder, especially since it's going to be further from the entrance where the guard bees are going to be located. So we just want to make sure that we get this taped over here so it's...
Do you think by having the feeders on the top too, it'll help trigger them to want to come up to the top box?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yep, very good point. So we're going to probably have some secondary support for them to get into this top box. So, okay. And then we're going to put the lid on. So I'm going to show them really quickly the setup that we have here. Yeah. Okay. So you can see this is the hole in the inner cover, and I've just offset so they can come up underneath. They're going to come up. So this inner cover hole goes all the way across. They're going to come up and they'll be underneath it here feeding in the jars. And then I put this open here so that the bees can be up around this space to defend it. We closed off that entrance. There's no way for anybody to get to these feeder jars unless they come from the bottom of the hive all the way up to the top. and that's the safest way. These are punched lid jars, so there's very little sugar water exposure into the air, and I think that's the safest to prevent the risk of robbing.
Okay.
Yep,
All
we'll
right.
put the lid on, and then we'll adjust our strap because we want to make sure, because this is a brand new box, it's not propolized into place, and it's wax dipped, so we're going to get it secured.
Oh, hang on. There we go. A little more. All right. And a little bit more. There we go.
Yep. And then pull it really snug. Kind of wiggle it, make
Yeah.
sure.
I like it on a little further back because I
Yep.
feel like if it's right there on the edge, it's not going to be good.
All right, and then I like to tuck the extra tail in here so it doesn't flap around in the wind. Okay.
All right. Want to look at, see what
Oh,
our
yes.
results are?
All right, so we've let this sit. I'm gonna give it a few more kind of shakes here, and then we're gonna let the suds kind of bubble to the top. And so let's look into the bottom, and there's one dark spot, but that is not a hive or a Varroa mite. That Varroa mites are brown. They're about the size of that black dot, but that's just a piece of dirt, piece of debris. So, as completely expected, these package bees have 0 mites. That's perfect. So we do not have any risk. We don't have to do any treatment on these guys, which is good.
Yeah.
And we're all set.
Yeah. Well, you
Package
normally
bees.
probably wouldn't have to do treatments on a new package of bees.
Right,
too.
yeah, they're broodless. They're, and where the packages come from, they are treating, making sure that they're free of mites. And so mostly this is just to show the method.
Yes.
Later in the season, there will be mites.
Yes.
There will be
Yes.
mites. Mites are in every single hive
Yeah.
eventually. No matter how good the bees are at defending against the mites or Varroa sensitive, they have to stay vigilant, and so does the beekeeper. But that's the method, and that's week 7. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. See ya.
See you, everybody.